Welcome to 26.1 AI Podcasts. As we continue our international tour, we have a guest from Uruguay, Ernesto Rodriguez de Paula, one of the founders of Trio Labs and Monkey Learn. Welcome, Ernesto.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
It's been a while since I last saw you. I think it was maybe 2015 in San Francisco when you blew away the audience with your slides with monkeys.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was 5 years ago. Uh, First of all, that was super fun. And actually, it was my first time in the US, and I was visiting San Francisco to pitch Monkey Learn, particularly in this event, which was kind of I guess a contest for winning tickets for the PyCon conference, right, in Montreal. And yeah, with my co-founders, we decided I should go there and try. uh, I arranged other meetings with clients back then, but yeah, that the presentation was super fun. I remember it was mostly photos of monkeys and features of the product that we were building, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Well, you beat out, I believe, a Y Combinator company, and the judge panel included Y Combinator partner Kat Manilak, as well as other really formidable founders. So, good job on that one. And I imagine you've learned a lot over the past 5 years on what it takes to build a startup in the ML and AI space. Maybe you could share some of that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, as you know, I co-founded two companies. One is Trio Labs, that has been around for 10 years, and what we do is mostly consulting, specialized in AI for big companies. And then my other company is Monkey Learn, which is a SaaS product for building natural language processing models, right? And and yeah, I think the two companies are very different. Monkey Learn, it's a startup in the sense of in the how you imagine a Silicon Valley startup, right? In terms of we went there with a plan. We were able to raise seed capital, and we are in this kind of race uh, for growth and for creating very big impact and thinking a lot about the investors, right? And what we can do to make their investment work. And Trilabs is totally different. It's a bootstrapped company from day one. It has been the co-founders working uh, at the beginning, just the three of us. Then once we got some clients, we started growing, but at our own pace. Let's say it's more of a kind of a lifestyle business, if you will. So I think that there are kind of like the two extremes, I would say.
And it's really Monkey Learn is really software as a service, right? So now the models that
Right.
go on there, the natural language processing models, can you give an idea? Can you give us an idea what they do? What value do they provide to? Why would
Right.
someone want a model hosted there?
Right. So basically, you can create models with your own data that are able to do text processing tasks that you will that you need for something specific in your products. Right. At the beginning, maybe 5 years ago, when we were presenting the product, Monkeylearn was more focused on developers, right? Maybe developers that were not experts in AI but wanted to use these models. Um, right now, kind of our focus is shifting towards people in marketing or in customer acquisition. So we are trying to make the product more easy to integrate with different tools, right? So right now, the power of monkey learning is more on how you can integrate with the data you are using in different tools to really use these natural language models to create new value from that data.
And have you gone down the, BERT and Elmo and all those other the kind of transfer learning paths that seem to be really making real improvements over the ability to
Right.
do word prediction yet?
Right. So in Monkey Learn, we are always experimenting things. The same happens in trial labs. I mean, we are seeing all these advancements in the state of the art of new libraries and new models, and we are trying them and always are uh, start to become part of the solutions we offer. uh, I think it's one thing is the demos and the libraries you see that are like super interesting and even super fun to watch. But at the same time, there are other things that are not kind of in the edge of the state of the art that really still can provide a lot of value. I think part of the you know the challenge for companies now is uh, start working with AI and not always trying to look for the last library or the the last new iteration in the state of the art, but trying to figure out if there is something already there that can really provide value to what you're doing.
Let's get into your personal biography a little
Hmm.
bit. Um, you studied CS. It wasn't
Hmm.
in AI or ML at the time,
Hmm.
but at some point you did make the transition. At some point, you started Trial Labs
Yeah.
with your colleagues and your co-founders, and
Yeah.
also there's other companies like I'd met Roberto Uriarte, who's
Hmm.
I think their office is across the way from you in
Hmm.
Montevideo.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe go through your personal journey.
All right. Yeah, so I started my career around 16 years ago. I always loved computers, and I was studying engineering at the time. And my first major job was while I was studying, uh, and it was in a Uruguayan video game startup, which was super fun. I was a game developer and game designer. Um, it was a great experience. I learned a lot there about mostly about the startup culture. Right, it was a very progressive firm, super fun team. So it was a super interesting experience for me. I stayed for 3.5 years there. Um, but then I moved kind of to the other extreme of the computer science field and started working on a bigger company in the medical devices and industry, right? So two very different approaches to engineering. One thing is video games, where we always say that if you code something that was wrong, if you code a bug there, it could lead to kind of even an amusement for players. They discover a bug in their game. But if you do something wrong with a medical device, people dies. So it was kind of the two extremes, um, and I learned a lot from both experiences.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah, go ahead.
extreme differences. So, do you still play games? Are you a gamer?
Yes, yeah. I mean, not as much as I like to back then when I worked at Powerful Robot Games. I sometimes I had to play all day one game, which was amazing, and then you get tired of it, right? And now, yes, I'm still playing a little bit with the Nintendo Switch, mostly the classic games, not many of the new ones, but yeah, I do it from time to time.
So on to your second job, and then at what point did you feel like there could possibly be a market for starting
Mhm.
a company and finding customers?
Right. So yeah, at my second job, I started meeting with one of now my co-founders, with Raul, and yeah, we saw that there was an opportunity in in technologies, and one thing that happened was that um, in Uruguay there was not really a market, or yeah, a lot of cool opportunities for engineers. You had like the traditional engineering jobs that were not exactly what we were looking for, and then you had a couple of interesting things around. So we wanted to build a company that we wanted to become a major player in the global market. We wanted to, from day one, to target the global market, because Uruguay is very small, so we didn't see things interesting to do in Uruguay, and we wanted to use the technologies that we saw that were more challenging, more fun, and with tremendous opportunity, which was mostly AI, right? Um, so yeah, we started meeting. We meet Martin, our other co-founder, through a business incubator, and yeah, we started working together. After a year of meetings, we decided to go ahead and quit our jobs and started working full time in the company, which we bootstrapped for 2 years, and then we finally were able to get clients and we started growing really fast.
Yeah, I can't help but ask, but Uruguay
Mhm,
is a small country in South America.
mhm.
Where do you find your clients? Are they there? And you must be have a huge impact in that market if that's where you find them.
Right. So yeah, what we planned was from day one to not to look for clients in Uruguay, right? We wanted to build our team in Uruguay. We have great talent. We had very good connections in the university here. So we wanted to build a team of developers, engineers, and academics which were super efficient and fun to work with, and target them to the US market, right? We mostly started working with Silicon Valley, and that was because we wanted to do AI, right? And it was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, the market wasn't really ready for AI in many, many senses. And Silicon Valley was probably the only place where we found that they wanted to, try new things. They wanted to explore the AI field. And that's how we were able to get our first experiences with clients there.
I mean, when you get started 10 years ago,
Mhm,
I mean, it was a lot harder to get going with AI and ML. I mean, what
mhm.
technologies were you using, and what were the libraries that were most important for you?
Yeah. So I remember we used Weka. That's a Java-based library, which back then was, you know, probably the one of the few things that was really uh, that you were able to use in production. Then you had experimental stuff, but Python, obviously, and all the batteries included that you have with Python was a good way to at least have something to start building your own libraries with AI. There was no TensorFlow,
I have to
you
laugh.
know. Mm,
Sorry to interrupt, but I have to laugh. The batteries included, it just dated you because I
mhm.
remember, like Don and I have been around the Python world for a long time, but I remember that used to be the teaser. That used to be like the
Yeah,
marketing message for the Python community was batteries included. So I love you use the phrase. So please go
yeah,
on. I just wanted to
yeah.
chime in
What
there.
That
was it
was one of the
specifically Django? Django's kind of tagline?
we used it, yeah, for the first few projects we were using Django for um, probably visualizing things, but yeah, it's I guess the what really moved us to use Python was that we knew that all these libraries, all these batteries included, what's what was going to be what allowed us to build the complex backends that we wanted to build.
And fast forward to now, you hosted a pretty amazing workshop about your experience trying out Swift, or at least at
Right,
Trialabs.
right.
Maybe share that.
Yeah,
I think that's new knowledge for Brian, even though he keeps up.
right. So one of the things that we are doing at Trilabs is kind of we have an area that's called frontiers that where we do some research and development, right? So we try things that are still not ready for the market, but maybe not ready even technically for trying for prototyping things. So one of our engineers proposed doing this, studying Swift and how the integration with TensorFlow and if there is a possible future for it for real world AI applications. Yeah, it was a super amazing experience. And
I mean, I always saw Swift as the new Objective C, but now you're telling me, if I get
mhm,
this correctly, you're looking at integrating it with more of a machine learning type workflow.
right, right. Yeah, it's fairly new, and they are still working on this integration with Swift for TensorFlow.
Well,
Um,
here to blow your mind, Brian, is I believe it's a Google project as well.
mhm. Yeah, and the guys working on that project joined us in the webinar, which was amazing. Yeah.
See, seems like you have quite a bit
No,
of academic influence in how you're working, and then maybe Brian can chime in as well, since Brian was one of the leaders of Deloitte's innovation lab, where I imagine there's quite a few academics resident. I mean, for me, coming from startups, there's often a denigration of academic credentials. Just the
Mhm,
the stereotype is they're not going to move fast enough for startup speed.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I like to think that we are kind of uh, in the middle. Sometimes we have conversations with clients that before talking to us, they went to a university to talk to academics about a research project, and they thought that their approach was too academic, right? So they wanted something in the middle where you have a team of engineers that are able to understand the state of the art, but think about the industry and how you can create solutions that are for solutions for real world problems, right? um, so I like to think that we have kind of a vision where we understand the academic part and are able to read the white papers and kind of even push the state of the art, but we always try to do it in what we call a real world project where you have a scope, a budget, and you have to fit that in and really get results for your client.
What have you run into, Brian, with this? And have you had to do this kind of cultural translation? Because, for example, we had Rachel Tatman on as a guest talking about some of these models where academics are running several millions of dollars worth of compute time.
Yeah, she was talking about the ACML, some of the experimental models uh, in that, and running up quite a bill. Pretty exhaustive models, lacking early stopping, of course. Well, I don't have anything against either mindset that academia is pushing the needle forward, and so is engineering. I've certainly seen a big shift lately. I don't know if you've seen this, Ernesto, and you may be a good person to ask because you guys are hosting models. But I've been seeing a big shift towards ML ops lately and just operationalizing your AI. Have
Mhm.
you ran into that at all?
Uh, well, when we put things into production, that usually becomes something important, right? And we are trying to kind of educate our clients with that. There is kind of this idea of thinking about uh, what we build with AI as a service, or something that you will have to maintain in many different ways, like not only maybe retrain or uh, you know update some models, but also there is an infrastructure that it's supporting all that, and it has a cost that you have to take into account. um, we are seeing that we are kind of also in the first stages of understanding how is the best way to approach this. We usually, when we prototype, we do everything in our own infrastructure. Then when we move it to clients, we can see cloud solutions. We can do something that it's in their own infrastructure. Uh, but yeah, it's something that it's evolving a lot too.
And through working for hire, at what point did you decide that text analysis was worth it in terms of devoting all that effort to get
Hmm.
Monkey Learn launched? Because
Hmm.
you came up all the way from Uruguay to San Francisco for my event, for example, and
Right.
I believe Raul's been pretty much resident in Silicon Valley
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
long periods of time.
Hmm. Yeah. So we tried different things, right? Computer vision, for example, was one of the and still is one of the big areas that TriLabs is working on. We are working a lot on natural language processing too. With MonkeyLearn, we saw natural language processing. We saw kind of uh, a niche there where with text classification, with entity extraction, and we saw a way that you were able to build models without having to go through all the stages that are super complex of research and more understanding in the configuration of these models, but uh, uh, you know productize this in a way that was more approachable to people. So that's why we saw that problem with natural language processing, that was a big opportunity for the product we created. But then we have been experimenting with our all other things.
Brian, you built a very successful text analysis tool for Deloitte. Did you go through all this pain as well of building it? Because you coded that.
Yeah, I did originally. I would have loved to have some of the more recent research that has been done
Hmm.
um, in that space back then. But we built it basically on sklearn and Python, and a little bit of NLTK to get some of the ontologies there, and we used just a traditional machine learning model approach. But I would have loved to have what we have now.
Hmm.
And I don't know how much we've gotten into things like Kubeflow and other. There's just a lot out there right now, especially in the cloud. What is your typical? What does your environment look like? What are you guys into? As far I know, you said Python, but are you getting into anything else around that
Yeah.
ecosystem?
Well, mostly it depends a lot on the project, and we do use Python a lot, but we have used R in things that are more maybe where when we want to understand a problem and generate maybe a report on on what we think, on what we discovered. With Python, we have been using a lot PyTorch or TensorFlow, TensorFlow 2 also, and yeah, depends a lot on the problem we want to solve, right? And it's part of I think one challenge we are having now is sometimes clients come to us with this approach that maybe you have to use AI to solve this, or you have to use TensorFlow for object detection for this, and they they see AI sometimes like a silver bullet. There is this idea, because of all the hype there is with AI technologies. They see that it will solve everything. So it's a challenge for us, and it's kind of an education process for us with clients to really narrow down not in which technology we are going to use, but what is the real problem we are going to solve, and what will be the best way to really measure that we are solving that problem, right? Uh, and I think that's one of the interesting things that we are seeing in the industry with AI right now, because it's but 10 years ago it was, the market was not ready, and not many people knew about AI. Right now, everyone knows about AI and they want to use it, but they don't know exactly how. So we are having all these conversations to make sure that people understand the power of AI, and what we can do to really give them a good value and an impact for using these technologies.
Brian, that's teed up for one of your favorite questions about the hype, right?
Yeah, two. There's two questions I love to ask almost every interview. One is about the hype, and
Mhm,
that is this. How do you deal with it being a practitioner? Is it how much of it is hype right out there right now, and how much of it's real?
mhm.
Does it annoy you? And the other question, kind of tailing that, is any precautionary tales is about do you have any fear about what AI will do to the world? And those could be
Right.
the same answer too sometimes.
I like it. I like the philosophical questions. Yeah, I think the the first part. I think I remember once one client came to us and said, uh, and this is a quote, "I want some machine learning bull," right? So, and yeah, that was my reaction. They and we, politely said, okay, let's try to find a problem to solve. We will give you the machine learning, but we need to make sure that it's valuable somehow, right? And it was his petition was because they knew that if they have something with AI in their stack, or in their value proposition, they will be acquired by a company, and they were acquired by that company after we did that project, right? But uh, it was yes. So I think that's we did our homework, and we
Wow.
found a problem, and we found something that was valuable for them. But I know that it's out there. If you have AI, then you are doing things that are more valuable. So there is this hype.
Thank you, Ernesto. And maybe we can conclude with letting everybody know how to reach you and any final kind of promotional message you may have.
All right, yeah. So um, if you want to reach me, you can look for me at triolabs.com. My email is ernesto@triolabs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at triolabs. And yeah, or I'm in LinkedIn too, and I'm super happy to connect with people that want to learn more about AI. Maybe companies that are looking for a partner for their AI journey. So yeah, if you are open for those conversations, I'll be happy to.